For Lawrence at
I
1?
should be able to go for
Roger Goodell at 1?
Yes, Roger Goodell is going first overall. And with that, this is the 22nd episode of the Illegal Use of Hands to the Face Football Podcast. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great, Hayden. The draft's less than a week away. I can't be more excited. How are you?
I'm doing tremendous. There's a few things I want to get to right before we talk about this mock draft. Really, I just okay, we're gonna talk about that little trade that happened here today. But first, did you enjoy the little hissy fit Brady had in regards to the number changes? I thought that was really amusing.
I cannot wait for him to throw an interception to a defensive back that's wearing a completely different jersey than what the Buccaneers are wearing. But he's like, it's because he's wearing 13.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to tell either. I mean, getting up in that age, there's all sorts of confusion.
Yeah.
He just uses the size of the numbers usually because he can't actually read them from that far away. But it's like a one is usually skinny, and all his receivers wear the teens numbers. And now it's like the defensive guys can have that thickness of a number on their jersey too. So it's really just going to be all over the place.
Yeah, he said something about like, oh yeah, we won't even know who to block anymore, and I can just imagine like Ryan Jensen freaking out because he sees like a number 5 coming at him, and he's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, no, you see, I would agree. I kind of liked the idea that we had guys who would have specific numbers to their position because it's kind of just like a uniformity that I liked. But at the same time, that's not what he's arguing. He's arguing what you said, which is kind of just stupid because it's like, okay, well then it really would have been an issue at like the high school and college level forever, and they would have changed the rules a long time ago, but they didn't.
Yeah, I could understand the argument of it makes the league look less professional, I guess. But he's arguing that it's going to decrease the level of play happening.
Yeah,
and
that's just
cannot
ridiculous.
Get behind that at all.
No. What about the trade? What did you think when you saw the trade today for Orlando Brown to Kansas City?
Kansas City has completely rebuilt their offensive line, and that's kind of scary because that was really like their one weak spot going in the Super Bowl, and that's because it was weak. But then they just cut both their tackles. Everyone laughed at them because then they signed 2 guards. But they've got Joe Tooney now, Kyle Long.
Yeah, the interior of that O-line's a lot better.
Yeah.
That's only one tackle, but hey.
I think it's similar to like what teams do like late in the rounds that we've seen over time. It's just they were going to draft a tackle anyway. Why not get a proven guy? And he's on the last year of his deal, so they're going to get him for cheap.
Yeah, I completely get it though. I mean, it's a very good trade for them. Baltimore, kind of weird how many picks they actually flopped for no reason. Basically, they ended up exchanging 5 picks total. I think for basically like, come on, just figure out what he's worth, and then just trade 1 pick for him. I don't get that. We gotta trade our 2 for your 3, and your 4 for our 3, and your 5 for our 6, and it's come on, it's just dumb.
I think they kind of put themselves in that spot. Well, not Baltimore necessarily, but Orlando Brown kind of put him in that situation of I'm not playing for you guys because you're going to make me play right tackle, so you have to get rid of me. So I think either like any team they would have traded him to, they would have gotten fleeced. In that sense of, yeah, we're going to have to make a compromise because every other team in the league knows that he's not going to play for us.
Yeah, I know. You're right. You excited for my mock draft for the 2021 draft? 2-round, the full 2 rounds.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you did.
All right. Well, I mean, Here's our good picture of Roger Goodell to start off. I mean, he's looking wonderful. I used all this high quality editing throughout my entire mock draft, just so you know.
Big news today. He got vaccinated, so
I know he
able
can
to
hug guys.
guys.
It's so exciting. Okay, I mean, honestly, I don't think. Okay, you can do something weird here if you want to, but I mean, I think we both know like first pick is this beautiful human being. I mean, what a lovely woman, am I right? he's going number one. I don't think there's really much to discuss in turn. We've already talked about like what we think of him talent wise, but he's going first overall, and that's really what most of the discussion is about today. So Trevor Lawrence, number one overall. You happy with that?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's written in stone.
And the only thing that's even better is that somehow this year we actually have the first 2 picks written in stone, which is kind of weird. But yeah, Zach Wilson number 2 as well. You agree? You agree? Well, no, not agree. Don't agree. You can't agree because you have to talk about this for your section. So so just
it
so
makes
you
sense.
understand.
It makes sense.
Okay.
Yes, it makes sense.
Good. Yeah, okay. So number 3, this is where the draft kind of actually really starts, and I'm definitely in the quarterback camp. I think almost everybody is in the quarterback camp for San Francisco, but right now, at this very moment, and it changes basically daily, but at this moment, I'm going Justin Fields. I think they're going to pick him at 3. He's really the first quarterback to go that I'm actually excited about what I'm seeing. I mean, I feel like whoever goes to San Francisco has such an advantage that they're going to ball out. And I think if Mac Jones went there, I think if Trey Lance went there, I think if somehow Trevor or Zach went there, I think they would all just be like set up for major success. So I'm sending Justin. Now at 4, we've got kind of the start to where my thing can kind of get debatable here. A lot of people, I don't think the Falcons are going to move on from Matt Ryan, and I don't think they want to pick a QB if they're going to say that they're sticking with Matt Ryan. It would be different if they were just giving up and going straight into this guy, but Matt Ryan's young enough where it's like the next guy could come in and he could still hang on to he could run him through his whole rookie contract and Matt Ryan could still be the starting quarterback. So, with that said, I think that the talent here that they have to go with is Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I don't know. You once again, you can't really disagree with me, but I mean, are you surprised by me saying that? Or no?
No, I'm not surprised with it. It makes sense for Atlanta to do that, but there's also probably 3 or 4 different directions that Atlanta can. Whatever Atlanta does with that pick, trade back Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase or take a quarterback. It's going to shake up the rest of the first round for the whole night.
Yeah. So then from there we have Cincinnati. We really don't think that Cincinnati would kind of be in a spot where they could think about trading the pick, but it's Cincinnati, and I don't think they're going to actually trade a pick ever. So I think that what they have to do, since Pitts is off the board, even though I would like Pitts as a fit for Cincinnati more than Atlanta, just because Cincinnati needs a tight end so badly, seems like, I'm going to go Penei Sewell. Just think that that's what makes sense here. And they want to protect their young guy because unlike everybody else that seems to think Cincinnati has receiver problems, I don't think Cincinnati has receiver problems whatsoever. So just grab this guy that is almost as guaranteed in opinion as Trevor Lawrence in terms of their positions.
Yeah, it's really weird that a pick like this is it's guaranteed in a sense, and it's very separated from, well, not very, it's at 5, and like 2 is the last guaranteed pick. But just to see something where there's uncertainty in between it, and it's just, oh yeah, this team's definitely getting this guy, and it's been set in stone for months that they're getting this guy, is really weird.
Oh, you really think this pick is guaranteed? No, you don't?
No, I don't. It's Cincinnati. Cincinnati's how do I phrase it? They're a very inept organization, and
so I was just misinterpreting what you were saying.
No, if they don't have the first overall pick like they did last year to get Burrow, I think they're oh well, we could just get anything here. So
that's kind of true. That's kind of true. All right, here's where the exciting stuff happens. We got to number 6. I will say this is the only spot that I said I'm going to go with a trade for the team that I'm talking about. Or sorry, in this entire mock draft, just because I mean there are so many opportunities here where you could say trades could be possibilities, but this was really the only pick that I really felt like the team picking had like almost zero good options for what they had, and this is Miami. So this is the team that has already flopped their picks around a bunch, but I do think that they even said themselves, or like from what I was hearing, is that they're still willing to move around more, even though they've already moved around a bunch. So then I'm sitting here thinking, who are the teams that are willing to move, and why would they move up? And I think you have to say that it's got to be for a quarterback here. So the team that I feel really is the only one that's really kind of got the right amount of ammo to do this is New England. Because, and I think Belichick's willing to trade in division for sure. And I think the other two teams are Denver and Chicago. Denver and Chicago, I think Denver's too close to this pick, so they're kind of like, is it worth it to trade up? I think they would be very hesitant to pull the trigger to move such a small amount. And then Chicago, I don't think that they would be able to put in as good of an offer as New England, plus New England's 5 picks ahead of Chicago already. So I know it's an interdivision trade, but I think it's really possible, and I don't think that the receiver that so many people are mocking here is as much of a necessity as everybody else seems to think. So I think New England's going to go Trey Lance and not Mac Jones. I think that purely because when I saw Bill Belichick at the Alabama Pro Day, he looked very, very upset with Mac Jones. And I think that's actually another one of the reasons that he would actually be willing to trade in the division, which he's done before, but this is a huge profile trade. And he's just not, he wouldn't like the idea of potentially landing a QB, but not it being one of the ones that he liked. So with Trey Lance, he kind of gets a guy that's actually fairly similar to Cam Newton. And that would be kind of nice for their system, at least, because then even if it's the starter or the backup, and I'm guessing that Cam Newton would be the starter initially, the system wouldn't change much at all.
Yeah, I think I'd never even considered Trey Lance going to New England. In my mind, in anything, I don't even think I've really seen a mock have that. Probably. But it just seems like Mac Jones is just such the popular quarterback to go there. And, I really like that. I like him being a backup behind Cam. Maybe Cam gets hurt like Bledsoe. Not hoping for that, but if he does, then I mean...
Well, Cam's been pretty injury-prone, and, he could just play poor enough that he gets off the field. But they've got weapons now, so maybe not.
Yeah, it's just going to happen. Cam's going to get hurt. Trey Lance is going to go in, and then he's going to ship Cam off to, the Jets or something.
Yeah. So, right here now, to the Jets. Jeez, wow, we're going in division still. I wasn't even thinking.
Well, that's what happened with Bledsoe.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay. So now we have the start of an interesting section of the draft where we start a run on Alabama players. So first up in that list for Detroit is going to be Devontae Smith. Now, it's like, why is Jamar Chase not going first? Well, I think Detroit's going to go receiver. I think they're going to go with the top 3 for me are Waddle, Smith, and Chase. The reason I think that Smith or I'll eliminate Chase here. I think that Dan Campbell's the type of guy that would see, we're maybe not supposed to say this, but would see that Chase took a year off and be like, you don't care about football enough. No, you're not coming to my team. Like, that definitely feels like the head coach they've got there. So that's why I'm going to say it's between one of the two Alabama guys. Now, from there, I'm going to say they've got Marvin Hall and Quintus Cephas, who aren't really like big names, and I've got to be honest, I don't know a lot about them, but to me, they're speed guys. To me, I don't know enough, but that's just how I interpret it. Just really bare bones take there. So I don't think they would go for the speed guy as much as they would go for the guy who's kind of a little more all around, even though he's lightweight. I think they wouldn't be too turned off by that. I think the machine of a head coach could definitely get him in the weight room to bulk up, and I would be really interested to see him go to Detroit.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I can imagine Devontae Smith coming out first preseason game, just dead silent on social media, and Dan Campbell has him looking like prime Megatron with how jacked he is going out there.
Oh yeah. Then we have the next team up here is the Panthers. So I was going through every team, and I'm like, why? What are the positional needs for each team? And then I look at what other people say too, and I'm like, okay, well, I gotta like look for myself, because that's really a much better thing to do than just trust what like a website says or whatever about a team need. Because honestly, sometimes I can look at those and completely disagree with them. They're saying a lot of people are mocking a tackle here. I don't think they're as offensive line needy as other people seem to think. And what I do think is that even though they have Robbie Anderson and what's his face?
DJ Moore.
Thank you. They're still going to be sitting there like, well, we got Darnold though, and we want to give him every opportunity to be great in this offense, and really not say that we didn't support him enough with weapons or whatever. And I think that Rule, which is something that I discussed before, in the fact that he wanted a fast quarterback, well, now he doesn't have the fast quarterback. So I think he may compensate for that with a receiver. So I think Waddle could go to Carolina here. And then we have both Alabama receivers off the board before Chase Still. And that would be strange, but I mean, I could see it happening. And then really, I mean, I'm kind of having trouble with DJ Moore, because I gotta be honest, I can't say that I've paid enough attention to DJ Moore over the years, but Robbie Anderson definitely thought of as a speed guy, so Jalen Waddle's kind of being another speed guy in that role. I don't know how much DJ Moore's thought about that. I think of him more as like a decent, just not as much. I'll just say not as much of a speed guy, but I don't know too well.
Yeah, I think the direction that you're going with this is very interesting.
Oh yeah. No,
and just to clarify for everyone, we both think that Jamar Chase is the number one receiver.
Oh yeah, no, I do.
In the draft.
No, yeah, I do. I just don't. I'm not worried about my rankings at all until like right at the tail end of the second round, because I'm like, I want these guys to go high. Then at 9, I think he's got to go here. If he falls to them, he's got to go to them. There's no way that he's not going to go to the Broncos. The Broncos are sitting there. They're not happy with how Drew Lock's been playing. I mean, like I said with Darnold here in the last pick, they're going to give him every opportunity to win. Well, geez, they gave Drew Lock like everything, and it still hasn't come together. So I think that they're going to be moving on from a quarterback. They were really just waiting to see if a quarterback was actually going to make it to them at 9. And the reason I truly believe that is because if they weren't actually waiting for the draft to happen, the Broncos, then they would have already pulled the trigger on this Teddy Bridgewater trade that is seemingly basically like confirmed, minus the fact that it hasn't actually officially been sent through. So with that being said, if the quarterback falls to them, I think they would definitely go with him, and he's the last one remaining of that top 5 group, so I think that's what would happen here.
Yeah, Denver is, I think 9's a really prime spot for them to just sit and take whatever quarterback's left out of the 5.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, unless Atlanta goes for a QB. If Atlanta goes for a QB, then we're really, wow. then a lot of teams may just get somebody. I could almost guarantee if Atlanta takes a QB, I'd say it's like a 90% chance somebody jumps to 5 to get the last guy because they're just like, holy crap, they're like fear of missing out. Like, no way, we can't go any further.
Could you imagine a Ricky Williams type trade for Trey Lance or Mac Jones there at 5? That would be insane.
Or Fields. We don't know. We only know about Fields, Lawrence or Wilson. I mean, gosh, it would be wild. Yeah, no, it would be wild. I mean, the name we're hearing connected to the Falcons if they go QB for some reason seems to be Trey Lance. So, and then the San Francisco pick seems to be Justin Fields or Mac Jones. So if they go Mac Jones and then Trey Lance at 4, yeah. Fields could still be there at 5. But then for pick number 10, this one shouldn't be a surpriser because I feel like actually most people have this pick, is that Patrick Surtain II is going to be a Dallas Cowboy. That one feels almost as popular as like, you know, just some of the other top ones that feel like guarantees, just because I don't know, it feels like they're the first team that really needs to go defense. Even though it's not until pick 10, like, holy cow, we're going offensive heavy, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one's pretty consensus among everyone, really, so I cannot wait for the Cowboys to go in a completely different direction.
Yeah, no, I know. The only thing I'm wondering is, like, I don't have him as my favorite corner, but, I mean, I feel like it's a very safe pick. Like, there's almost no downside to it.
Yes, it is the most safe pick out of all the corners. But he's not my number 1 either, so.
And the best receiver falls all the way to 11. The Giants don't necessarily need a receiver, but holy cow, this is just like the Sam Darnold situation with Daniel Jones. It's like, okay, we've got a decent number of guys that are good pass catchers, but holy crap, Jamar Chase is still on the board. Now we have to get him. Him and Galladay on the same team would be absolutely insane. And the thing is, like, I mean, it just means that him, Galladay, and Saquon would leave no room for any excuses besides Daniel Jones is not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this team changes a whole lot if Barkley, Jones, Chase, and Galladay are all healthy the whole season. I mean, they become, if he goes there, they become a very interesting team in the NFC East next year.
Yeah, that would be insane.
Then at 12, we got a player staying in his state. Kind of just like looking at talent of guys. The Eagles should probably be going defense here because we just lost that last guy in the top 3 receivers, and I just feel like Parsons is the guy that everybody seems to be ranking high for a linebacker, and I don't feel like any of the I just feel like I don't feel like there's any like D linemen that you'd really want to go with here, and I feel like Parsons would be enough to keep them away from a cornerback, even though you could argue that they need a corner. And definitely not a safety. The safeties are deep, for one thing. And for the second thing is nobody really knows how they're going to get picked, and it would be really weird to pick a safety this early.
Yeah, this would be a good pick. I could also see them going offense, though, just with the whole Jalen Hurts thing and them not committed to him being a starting quarterback. I think they would have to get him some weapon that was not a college quarterback to properly evaluate him.
I agree, but it's the spot. The spot sucks now because how it's ran up for my mock draft, it's Pitts is gone and the top 3 receivers are gone.
Oh,
who do you want to pick, like, as a receiver or a running? I still like Miles Sanders. No. I don't want to pick a running back. I definitely don't want to pick a tight end, and I don't really want to pick a receiver.
With the way that yours is fell, it would be a reach to get any offensive position, like besides tackle, but they don't really need help on their O-line.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with where you went with how yours fell. But if it fell a different way, I could 100% see them going offense.
This would really be interesting to see him team up with I think he's number 49, the guy who had like a breakout season for them last season. It's Alex Singleton. Is that his name?
Think so.
Okay. Well, yeah, the breakout linebacker for the Eagles that played absolutely tremendously. Okay, so pick number 13 now. We're going to the Chargers. I think this one's a pretty obvious one. Just kind of, not obvious maybe, but a pick that makes sense with what happens whenever we see a young quarterback. We got a young quarterback. We're going to get a nice offensive tackle to keep him comfortable. This is Rashawn Slater, Northwestern. The best Chase Young beat down guy, or I don't know how to describe it. Just shut down Chase Young. That's all we have to really say. I think that's enough to really get like anybody picked really high, and he played very well in that game. I was pretty impressed. I think a lot of other people were too, so I think he could be the second tackle off the board. Next, for the Vikings, I've got the Vikings going the same way, actually. I think that they'll go tackle as well, just based off where everything else on their team is and the guys that are available. I didn't really like anybody else. I like their corners. I like their linebackers. I don't think their D-line is too weak. They obviously have Harrison Smith at the safety position. The other safety position could be questionable, but once again, I think it's too high. The receivers, Jefferson, Thielen, no. Dalvin Cook, I don't think we can go quarterback here because we've taken the first 5. I mean, it just feels like they almost have to go O-line here with Darisaw. And I don't love Darisaw, but a lot of other people like him, so I think that he probably would be a guy that would be able to go this high.
Yeah, it's a pick that makes sense. I understand it.
Yeah. So, then, now, at 15 is where we have the Dolphins now, because the Dolphins traded out. So, in this, we had the Dolphins receive a first and a second round pick from New England. They could have received more, but that was really the only important things for me because, 2 rounds. So they got a first and a second round pick at least from New England, and obviously New England got up to 6. But I think Miami could get they need an edge player here, and I think that a lot of people think a lot of high praise for Jalen Phillips. He also played in the same stadium for his college career. So I think that this could be some influencing factors in why he gets picked here, and they fill a position of need, really.
Mm-hmm.
All right. No, not hating me yet. That's good. Oh, shoot. Uh-oh. You know what I'm realizing? I changed this today. I changed pick 16 today, and I think I forgot to change his name on here. I swapped him with somebody, but I'll tell you exactly who it was. Yes. So Caleb Farley had back surgery recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking today what I meant to do was that I swapped Caleb Farley with J.C. Horn later. J.C. Horn gets picked a little bit later here. So I'm actually going to mock J.C. Horn to the Cardinals, not Caleb Farley, even though he's the one who is on the screen right now. Just because the Cardinals need some corner help. They've kind of got some names there, but it was kind of hard to identify a position that's really obviously a need that fits in at this pick. And I think corner was the best option just because of the talent available in this draft at the corner position. And just hearing about the fact Farley took last season off, and on top of that, he has this back issue now. It's just likely that that's going to swing things in favor of J.C. Horn. I think they're both very good players, but I think that's why Horn will go higher and Caleb Farley will drop a little because there's a few concerns there that arise. But that's basically it. I don't think it's too strange. Do you?
No, I get it. I can see Caleb Farley slipping from where he should be the first corner taken in the draft, but the back surgeries and him not playing last season, it's going to cause him to slip.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think he's the best too. Then for pick 17, we have where some fun picks begin because the Raiders are on the clock here. Oh boy, you never know what they're going to do. And honestly, just the interesting players are always the guys that I think are going to go to the Raiders. If I think a guy is interesting, that's when I start like thinking, Raiders. A guy that I don't know if you so much fell in love with him, but I really like him at the offensive tackle position. They gotta fix things up front because they absolutely destroyed their offensive line this offseason. So they're gonna grab Tevin Jenkins, our man from Oklahoma State. I really wouldn't be surprised for them to do it because they've really been the guys that like to kind of grab guys that aren't necessarily going to get picked by teams at this pick, but it's actually a guy I like in this case. So hopefully I'm right. And actually, I think that even though this is probably higher than other people see him going, I think he would totally be worth the pick.
No, I totally think Tevin Jenkins should go in the first half of the draft. He should be the third tackle off the board, in my opinion. But I don't know how it falls. If the Raiders do take him, I might have a heart attack because it'll be the first good pick Mike Mayock has ever made as GM for the Raiders.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Now I'm really getting questionable though. The Dolphins have a ton of freaking picks now, and I'm just trying to find the weak spots in their roster. Like teams are not just drafting the best available player. They don't do that. That's not the truth. No teams are doing that because otherwise, then it would be like Kyle Pitts #1 instead of Trevor Lawrence, or not Zach Wilson #2. At least it would be Kyle, like something like that. It's just not the case that teams are not drafting the best available player. So in this case, the positions of need that I was trying to fill for the Dolphins. There were a few again. They have 4 positions of need, and they actually have, I think, 4 picks in the first 2 rounds with how my mock draft ends up. So they basically they go running back here because the other positions they need to fill can go a little further. ETN though, he may not make it to them in the second round. That's the thing. They could try to trade back a little bit again, which would be interesting. But I think that for them, the Dolphins, if they had with their second pick in the first round, I think this could be a place that they go because I thought they would go running back early last year. They didn't, and then once again, they had a pretty trash run game last season. I don't think that Flores can look at what was going on and whoever else is there in the GM spot. I think is it Greer, Chris Greer? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
I don't think they could look at the position again and be like, oh, I think they got to be like, okay, we got to fill this need eventually. Maybe it's not until the second round, but I would just say that they're scared that maybe him and Najee are gone by the time that their pick comes up in the second round. So I think they could try to grab him right here in the mid-first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really weird that 2 running backs could be taken in the first round or before their pick, which is the 3rd pick in the second round. It's very, very odd draft for 2 running backs to be this highly touted.
Yeah, it's pretty strange. Now, here's a guy that I don't know if people will see this coming. So I feel like for Washington, next team on the board, number 19, we've got to get some more weapons on offense. But I don't know if they really just want a speed guy or not. I don't see the reason that they would just want a speed guy. They've got Steven Sims, they've got Terry McLaurin, they've got plenty of speed at the receiver position. But I think they need another receiver. And I think they need sort of a bigger body here. So my guess is if this is how things are falling, I would say that Rashad Bateman is the next pick. He's the first guy that I actually put in uniform in the picture because I just loved him standing next to the Golden Gopher, I think it is. I just love that. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably actually the biggest. Maybe Jenkins is. I don't really know, but I think Jenkins' talent is definitely there. This is probably the biggest reach maybe that I've said so far without as much potential payoff. But I do think he could be a good player.
Yeah, they'd become pretty loaded at the receiver position for young guys because Steven Sims, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Rashad Bateman now.
Sorry, I forgot to mention Curtis Samuel. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So and
I
Rashad
did
Bateman
take him
brings
into account when I
yeah
was actually doing this, but yeah, no.
he
Sorry.
he yeah he brings something different to the table than the three other guys do because they're all decently fast. Rashad Bateman has a different aspect to him. He's very quick, but he still has
Bigger body.
more of like bigger body, bigger frame to go and get those jump balls that Fitzy or our guy Heineke will be chucking to him.
We're hoping for Heineke. The next pick here, the Bears. I mean, obviously, if the Bears could somehow figure out a way to get one of those top 5 QBs, then it would be amazing. But I don't think that they're going to be able to, sadly, for Bears fans. And I think really just looking at the roster, kind of position in need that could be filled here. I don't know. This may be surprising with how many of them I've got going. I think he's my 5th player at this position, but I think Elijah Vera Tucker is going to be selected by the Bears here as tackle. I think there's a decent amount of good tackles here that could end up being a lot more in the first round than people are expecting, but that's really what I think the position in need is for them here.
Yeah, O-line's very deep in this draft. I could see Chicago doing that. Like they're they don't even have a quarterback to evaluate. They have Andy Dalton, and you're not really evaluating Andy Dalton. He's acting as a bridge to get from like next season to the season after that.
Yeah, I don't think that the Bears could go. I mean, I don't think the Bears could pick a quarterback here if the 5 other QBs are gone and feel like they just look like idiots if they did that, to be completely honest.
It would be a hilarious reach for them to take Davis Mills or someone here at 20.
If they took Davis Mills out, oh man,
He's the most pro-ready quarterback.
That would be ridiculous. Yeah. So then we have the Colts. The Colts were an interesting one because it's kind of a team that plays well all over, but it's kind of hard. Like, I hate to say it, but it's just like a lot of guys that really I'm like looking at. I'm like, I don't really recognize the name of, but then I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, where's really, even though like I don't recognize some of the guys at the linebacker, like besides Darius Leonard, that Okereke guy, that's like the best example of it. He's pretty good, right? I mean, yeah. So it's like it was like identifying like the guys at the positions that I don't know that are actually good, whereas the guys that I don't know at other positions that aren't actually good. And the position that I ended up going with is I got edge for them. I finally decided that Kwity Paye would be the guy to go to them in this spot. I think that he just makes sense in terms of need, and also I just like him kind of in multiple facets.
Yeah, they could move him around all over the D line, and good compliment to DeForest Buckner.
Yeah, keep Buckner right in the middle, and he can be literally wherever you want him besides where Buckner is right in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, so finally we get back to what this is where I have the Titans are up next, and this is where I have Caleb Farley actually going, not J.C. Horn. They swap spots because of the back concerns and other concerns. So Caleb Farley drops a little more, but they may be getting a better player. And honestly, I will say this is just like the Giants pick, who were 11 picks ago, 11-22, kind of cool. I don't know why. That's only cool to me that it's the same multiples. No one else is going to think that's cool, but it's just strange to me. But Farley, a very, very good player. And if we see things like this, those concerns for him, making him drop, I mean, at some point, people just have to sit there and realize, okay, hey, there's all these guys on the board, and maybe it's not the most needed position for us. But also at the same time, the Titans do need a corner. It's just not as much as some other positions they may need. I think the Titans just have to say, geez, the talent there with Caleb Farley, can't pass that up, got to go with him.
Yeah, and the Titans are no strangers either for drafting guys that have injury concerns. They did it a couple of years back. His name's leaving me right now, but he didn't play for a whole season because of an ACL, and they still drafted him in the first round. So Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they took Caleb Farley here, and corner's a big position of need for them as well.
And then the Jets are next, and they're going to be really ticked off. This is the Jamal Adams trade pick. They're going to be really ticked off because they're looking at corners too, because their corners are absolutely horrendous. I mean, just absolutely awful. But with that said, they're still going to go corner, and I think the decision now is between kind of a guy that came onto my radar really late, Greg Newsome II. He's a lot higher rated than actually, I didn't really think I saw him much at all. And then I started seeing him on lists for other people had him, and he was ranked pretty highly, so I took a look at him, and he doesn't look half bad. And I think the other guy they could look at for corner here is Asante Samuel Jr. But I think what they're going to end up saying is, okay, Greg Newsome is bigger, and we want the bigger guy for Saleh, because that's generally how it seems Saleh liked his DBs to be bigger guys. So I think they do go Greg Newsome II here with this pick. I don't any shock about that one. I mean, their corners are obviously terrible, but maybe the actual pick itself.
The Jets have a really great luxury at 23 where they could draft pretty much any position.
Well, that's the truth. So, yeah, besides quarterback at this point, because that guy's already gone. But yeah, if anyone else they want, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and if it's kind of just been around and everyone's known it, kind of, that Richard Sherman is going to sign with the Jets after the draft, or if the Jets do draft like 5 corners and it's like, oh yeah, Richard, sorry, we don't need you anymore, he's going to sign somewhere else. But the Jets seem like his landing spot.
Man, I hadn't really heard that as much as you. I'm sure that it's definitely has something to do with who we watch and who we listen to on a daily basis. But yeah, no, I that really wasn't even on my radar. But I mean, it's not surprising to hear that at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And him and Greg Newsome have very similar builds, so he'd be a good mentor for him.
Yeah. Then Pittsburgh. I got a guy that seemingly fits Pittsburgh perfectly here, and then also they just can't let him slip by. I mean, this is what I feel like they got to do. I feel like they got to go Najee Harris because Travis Etienne's already off the board. This is the other guy that I really like, highly touted running backs. At least I feel like generally that's probably what most people think. And I feel like if they see that Etienne's off the board and then they look at their running back room and they go, oh my, this is a bad spot to be in if we don't pick this guy. Like, we're not going to be, we need to pick this guy, especially to be like the Pittsburgh of old school. Be nice to see them get back to that a little bit, especially considering it would probably help Big Ben's game a lot with how much he's kind of gotten slightly worse over the years, we'll say. Just with the age has not treated him like a fine wine.
Yeah. If Pittsburgh does go running back here, I think for at least their next 3 picks in the draft, they have to go O-lineman, because just to me, this does seem like a very realistic pick for Pittsburgh to make, because we're running back away. And then you look at their O-line, and Pouncey retired. Villanueva's probably leaving. They had another guy that left in free agency too, I believe. And then you kind of have to just take a step back and think, okay, so could we not get the run game going because of James Conner, or could we not get the run game going because of our offensive line? And I think it could be a situation like the Giants did with Saquon Barkley, where it's like, oh, we got Ben and Eli were in the same draft class. Oh, we got Eli. We got to make the most of him. So let's get this elite running back talent. And then it's just, oh, yeah, Eli Manning's our quarterback.
So, Jacksonville up next. We're finally going to get a safety off the board. And this is the guy everybody else likes that we don't. But I feel like if they're going to pick a safety, I feel like it's more likely that they pick the guy everybody else likes than rather just listening to the two of us and saying, oh, hey, so Trevon Moehrig, I think he's going here. They need safety help. That's basically where it ends because we both don't really like him as a player.
Yeah, he was he in your top 10? Maybe 10?
I wish I had it in front of me, but honestly, I think, yes, he was, but our Darius Washington was not, and other people have him. He was like 8 on my safeties list. He was like number 8. No, he wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't even have him in my top 10. And just safety is such a weird position this year, and for him to be the consensus one.
Safeties are always so hard to scout, to be completely honest. You just look back. It's like we have no clue how safeties are going to turn out. This is like one of the hardest positions to figure out how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, but usually, like, and this goes for almost every position, you got like a consensus 2 or 3 guys. And it's just, oh yeah, everyone's 2 through whatever is different, but 1 is the same for almost everyone, and it's Trayvon Moehrig. And I don't see it. But the Jags, same thing as the Jets, very, very great luxury of needing to plug in holes everywhere except where Josh Allen is and the other guy who is your
my favorite
pick.
Guys? No, it's basically the entire linebacker core. So it's Caleb Von Chason, Josh Allen, if we count them both as outside linebackers, and then it's Joe Schobert and Miles Jack in the middle. The linebackers, if you're talking 3-4, and that's the guys you rock with, they're great. Not to mention they have the Last Chance U kid on the team too, so that's fun from Texas Tech. Dakota Allen. Yeah, so I mean they're stacked at linebacker. I mean, especially with that 5th option there.
Yeah. So they have a great luxury, and they can pick whoever they want. Safety is a good pick here, and they'll probably go with the consensus one for everyone else besides us.
They could go kind of. I feel like I was kind of like also looking at interior defensive line, and then like the other spot I did like consider running back here. I mean, they're weird. They were a bad football team, but like actually trying to identify the weakest points on the team is kind of difficult. Like there's only a few spots that are really like there's like 3 positions that are like the weakest. It was like interior D-line, safety, and tight end, but no tight end, obviously. Yeah. And then running back, you need a second one besides the undrafted rookie you had last year. So those are kind of the positions that I was looking to fill for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
This guy, I don't know. I like this guy. You said you didn't like this guy, but I mean, I would be really happy to be Cleveland and be sitting here and get Christian Barmore. I would be ecstatic to get this. I mean, I could not imagine. I would be so happy just thinking about the fact that, I mean, the best part about this is this guy's like a run stuffer. I mean, how else do you want to compliment Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney? I mean, it's just, I mean, that D-line is going to be very scary. And I mean, maybe you don't like him now, but I mean, geez, if he actually pulls into that locker room and can actually hop in with those guys, I mean, that would be something. The other thing to think about here is now we're getting to the teams like really at the tail end of this first round where it's a lot of teams with just like not too many holes. And I mean, even though like Brown's D-line, it's like, oh, they're generally good. Well, yeah, except for the missing piece on that D-line is still interior defensive line.
Yeah, he'll be or if they get him, he'd be a great person to fill in for that Sheldon Richardson role. He's stronger than him, more athletic than him. He can make more plays. So yeah, he'd be a good complement with the 2 guys off the edge. I'm still not the biggest fan of him, but he's going to go in the first round. I'm aware of that. It's not like I hate him and I'm completely unaware that, oh, why is he going to be a first round pick? I can grasp that. So yeah. It makes sense to me, and I think it'd be a good pick for Cleveland.
Now, this is the point in the draft where I start looking at teams and trying to figure out where I'm like, okay, these guys finally have to start going, even though they're not that talented. They finally have to start getting picked because these are positions of need that these teams need to fill. And they may not turn out well, but they've got to give it a shot. So, Penn State, Jason Awe, edge. Yeah, the Ravens' obvious positions of need, I think. Well, maybe not obvious to some people, because somehow the Bengals are potentially in need of a receiver when you look at other people's mock drafts, but the Ravens are not. I have no idea how I can even, like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. But, yeah, positions of need to me. Edge, wide receiver, those were the 2 ones that stand out for me with these guys. So I mean, really, we're going with him here. But like I said, these edge guys, especially like, I mean, most of them just not too in love with. Kwity Paye's all right, but he's almost like a D lineman too. So it's like, I don't know. But they got to start coming off the board at some point. It's a position of need. I think they'll go there, especially because I really don't think anybody's going to be too convinced about any of these receivers. Maybe they will convince themselves on a receiver, but I think we're still a few picks away from really like being a receiver needy.
Yeah, it's really tough because just you and I both agree that the edge class this year is very, very poor. It's just, and they got to go at some point. A bunch of them have first round grades, and I've seen guys like Owe and Ojulari go as high as like in the mid first round, and I can't understand that.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, any team that made that decision, I would just be like, why?
the Raiders.
I don't.
The Raiders.
You're probably right. They're a good option, but I mean, I mean, luckily, I don't feel like most of the teams that are up there need to be that stupid, because I feel like actually the worst teams in the league don't really have, at least generally, don't need edge players as much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of lucky. Our favorite player in the draft is up next. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah to New Orleans. This would be interesting. But linebacker, a position of need, and I mean, it's finally been long enough. The only guy to go in front of him at the linebacker position was I think Micah Parsons, right? He was the only really kind of stand up linebacker we had go in front of him. So really, it's just finally somebody really came around that really kind of needed a linebacker. Besides Demario Davis, I don't really think I could give you a name of a guy on the Saints that's a linebacker. I'd like if they went this way, but honestly, they could see it differently, and I don't know. This isn't necessarily one of my high conviction picks. Like, even if he was there, I still could see them going a different way just based off how they interpret their team. But I'd say linebacker's weak for them.
I don't understand how he is not more highly valued by everyone that makes a mock draft. He, like, you and I both agree that he is one of, if not the best player in the whole draft.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna put him up there. Like, well, I mean, neither of us have Lawrence at 1, but I mean, let's talk about guys at other talents that obviously number 1 at their position. Like, we're talking about Kyle Pitts, like Penei Sewell, like maybe like a, just because we said Surtain feels like a guarantee, maybe a Surtain at corner. Mm-hmm. He's like one of those type of guys. We both feel like he's way talented, and like no way that he should be dropping this far. But also there is an element there of like need for linebacker, and it really isn't like, I don't know. It's just not feeling like when I was going through the rosters trying to figure out where teams would go with their picks, I wasn't feeling like linebacker was necessarily a big need for a lot of them.
Yeah, I would love this pick for the Saints if it happened.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I would love this. I mean, if no matter who picks him, I'm gonna say great pick.
Oh, I'm gonna be a lifelong fan of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Oh, it's a great name too. I mean, how can you not be? We're finally gonna get Aaron Rodgers a weapon here, and the receiver position is probably the one that I'm probably being ridiculous about this. It's the one position that I really gave myself leeway to like say, I really don't think teams are going to value these stupid receivers as highly as they seemingly are being. And they're going to recognize the guys like that and I think you generally pointed out are the more talented ones. So we already had Bateman go. He was like kind of near the 4 spot for both of us, right? I mean, he was at least, he was up there. And another guy that we both had like fairly good thoughts about in Kadarius Toney. I think they could go for him here, and I would love that pick. I would love to see him in the Packers offense, finally get him in an offense that finally gets someone for Aaron Rodgers to have in the passing game that is really consistent besides Devontae Adams. And really, actually, I would add Robert Tonyan into that mix now. I really liked how he played last season. I don't know if anybody else can say that as much, but give them kind of like three receiving options that I really like. Then I mean, just make it so everybody says he's the best receiver in the league, because I bet he can run behind the line of scrimmage a lot faster than Devontae Adams can.
Yeah, probably. He brings something completely different to their skill position. Something that Aaron Rodgers really has never had since he's been in the NFL is just a pure speed guy.
Kind of the only I was thinking about that, and the only guy that kind of is similar to him, but even not really, because I wouldn't say that. I feel like Kadarius Toney's talent is way above this guy, is Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb's the only guy that kind of ever fit that mold for the Packers, for Rodgers. Yeah, but I mean, I'd be really excited to see what they could do with him. I mean, come on. Treat your players well, Green Bay. Now we finally have the Bills. What?
Yeah, you tried to replace Rodgers. You might as well give him something now that he won the MVP.
Oh, yeah, I know. Now we have our team, the Buffalo Bills. I got to be honest, neither of us are going to be happy with their pick, because I'm trying to be realistic with who I think they'll pick. Now, on the other hand, I think you'll actually be more if this is how it goes, you'll be more disappointed than I'll be, just because I don't hate this guy as much, but I mean, like I said with the Ravens earlier, and that they finally do eventually have to start taking these edge players off the board, I'm suspecting that's what we'll do, and you're probably going to be really mad at me, because this is what a bunch of other people are saying we're going to pick too.
I know who you're going to say,
but it feels like it's going to happen. I don't want it to happen, but I mean, it feels like it's going to happen. So I don't know. Azeez Ojulari.
Yeah, he's my bottom-ranked edge player out of the whole
he's
class.
not my bottom-ranked, but like I said, I don't think highly of these edge guys. He was like number 2 or number 3 for me on the edge, but I don't like the edge position this year. I don't want to draft an edge player this year at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I don't know. No, but like I said, I mean, for like, if we're really looking at position, like, I do have to say, if this is actually who we ended up with, I wouldn't be like crying or anything. It'd just be like, okay, we're trying to get a player at a position that we really need to get better at. I'm okay with the pick, because if somehow he really does turn out to be talented, then it would be a good thing. Because I mean, at least we're not trying to draft a player at a position where we just don't need the position at all. That would be even worse to me.
Yeah.
If we drafted a receiver, that would just. Well, actually, no. I would love if we had Kadarius Toney, so I shouldn't necessarily say that. But no, like, we don't need a receiver. It just pick a position to try to actually fill a need.
Yeah, I could convince myself to like the pick probably after the draft and be like, okay, he's on the team now.
Yep.
But it's a position that the Bills need to fill, so
yeah,
it makes sense for them to draft that, and with both the running backs off the board too, and not really a premium offensive skill position player here either.
So the next pick is now the Ravens pick, because the Chiefs gave it to them today. So now, even though it's only 4 picks later, where, as I said before, they weren't going to go receiver, maybe they see Kadarius Toney go off the board to Green Bay, and they say, okay, let's grab a receiver here. And once again, like I said, receiver is the one position where I really would have to say that I gave my own rankings a little more love than any other position, because other positions I'm like Azeez Ojulari, like this pick right here we're looking at right now, guy that maybe we're not in love with, but I still think this is accurate for where he would fall and then get picked. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm really trying to go for accuracy. I don't know why. I'm just having a little more faith in NFL GMs to pick the receivers I like, but I mean, that doesn't even necessarily mean I'm going to be right. But say Terrace Marshall Jr., LSU, goes to Baltimore. Once again, kind of giving the reasoning that I did with Washington. Well, I guess Green Bay was the outlier here in that they kind of don't have that speed guy. But I feel like we're working with speed guys mainly in Baltimore. We got Hollywood Brown, we got Sammy Watkins, and I mean, they're not going to line up with a ton of receivers on the field ever. So I mean, a 3 receiver set is like a heavy receiver set for them. Like, we're not even seeing that usually. Like, if they get 3 receivers on the field, we're surprised. So with that, their 2 top guys are kind of like the speed players, at least coming into their own drafts. They were thought of as speed guys. So, I mean, grab a guy like Terrace Marshall, not really as much of a speed guy, but kind of like another receiver that's got a little more size than the other guys that are probably going to get picked in this range too. That's what I'm saying for him.
Yeah, if Baltimore goes receiver in the first round, second, whenever in the draft, they need to get something different than what they have, because it just seems every single time they picked a receiver since they've moved to this Lamar Jackson offense, it's just, oh, we need to get the fastest guy, and now you can barely throw the ball because these fast guys can't catch.
Yep.
They could do a lot after the catch, but you have to get the ball to them in the first place.
Yep, I agree with you. I mean, they gotta get open and have some solid mitts on themselves first too, because some of those guys weren't necessarily catching easy passes that Lamar was putting in their breadbasket. So let's hope Terrace Marshall can do that for him. And then at 32, this is kind of a surprise pick, but I mean, dude, the Buccaneers are the only team that I looked at, and I literally went through every position. I was like, holy crap, I haven't thought about it this much before, but there's not even, like, it's hard to identify, like, even a position with a weakness, like, that's the number 2 spot for them. Like, it's like, are you kidding me? There's so many guys on the team that I'm just like, oh, wow, it's hard. But what I eventually ended up settling on is like, okay, well, where are the positions, the 2 positions that I came up with that they're eventually going to need to get some younger youth, a youth infusion at, not necessarily a talent infusion, because the talent's there for now, is the quarterback position and then interior defensive line. Interior defensive line isn't even that bad, but I think that's the other position I end up going with later in the draft. But I'm just like, where are they going to fill in besides those spots? So I'm like, you know what they'll probably do? Because they'll say, well, next time it gets to our pick, he probably won't be here. They may go Kellen Mond right here. And yeah, I just put that upside down because it's the end of the pick. I hope that made you laugh. You laughed, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
No, yeah, I'm laughing really hard on the inside.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a really balanced QB. Also, I forgot to mention this before, is that trade today, surprisingly for the Chiefs and the Ravens swapping that pick, that changed the guy who was obviously going to be that selection for the Chiefs. But really, it only, for the second round, it only changed about 8 selections. So I was pretty happy with that, because I was like, geez, I really thought like it was going to change like almost the entire second round. And really, it's still comes down to fitting positional needs. So it didn't drastically change it, but I mean, it changed like a quarter of it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So here's Roger. Not gonna lie, we got lazier. So I just didn't feel like putting the pictures in for the players anymore. We just got names with the team logos.
It's the same thing that happened last year in the draft. Roger just started sitting down in the chair eating some M&Ms.
That's exactly what my thought was. I was like, Roger's not going to be happy to do the second round. Like, I don't need to go all out for the second round. But yeah. Okay, so we can start the second round, though. We'll probably move through it a bit faster just because not as much. Like I said earlier with the Jaguars, we're looking at guys here for a few different positions, I guess. But the main, with where we already filled in, kind of the position that I said they needed just a little more depth at is the running back spot. So I think just the fact that the first 2 guys went off the board, and some people think that he's highly rated, even though not a fan. Javonte Williams to Jacksonville wouldn't shock me here with how the rest of the draft has unfolded up to this point. I don't think that you would necessarily disagree with that. Maybe you'll surprise me and say you think that that's really shocking.
No, I don't. It doesn't surprise me, the pick, but I would not be surprised if James Robinson keeps his job and is like the main lead back still, because
he definitely would be, because this guy sucks.
There's going to be one game. There's going to be one game this season where like James Robinson's hurt or something, and he's going to come in and he's going to ball out. He's going to get like 250 scrimmage yards, and then they're going to be like, he's playing. Wow. He's starting next week, and then he's just going to be mediocre.
You still like him a lot more than me. I think his breakout game would not be 250 scrimmage yards. I think his breakout game would be 80 yards. I think that would be a breakout game for
He's
him.
going to have one game like the Miami game. He's going to have one game like it, and then he'll be good for that. If teams have like a loaded backfield and they just are going to keep chucking guys in it, Javonte Williams is their guy because he's like, you're good. You're going to be good for 1 or 2 games for us, and we could just have one guy inactive for a game, and you'll go in. It'd be a great pick for that.
So, this next Jets pick is kind of where things start to unfold kind of differently. So before I had the Chiefs going with somebody, and somehow that meant that the Jets wouldn't have had the opportunity to pick Greg Rousseau. But now, since the Chiefs weren't involved, this left Greg Rousseau on the board here. So I think they go Greg Rousseau because it's position of need. Before I actually had them with Asante Samuel still on the board, Asante Samuel Jr., I was like, man, they could actually go 2. Their corners are so bad. They could pick 2 corners this high, and it could be like, okay, that makes sense. But just because Greg Rousseau managed to sneak to their pick, because really, besides him, I mean, we were already talking about the edge class being weak, but I mean, really after him, like, there's even a significant, like, at least in terms of perception, there's a significant drop off, I would say. So I think he would go here then in this scenario. And then from here, since they didn't pick that other corner, the Falcons are a corner needy team, so they would grab Asante Samuel Jr. then.
How poetic.
Yep, exactly. then it kind of gets back to how I was going. Anyways, I have the Dolphins going with Jackson Carman. He's a tackle from Clemson, I think. But honestly, like, these tackle picks, first round kind of had some conviction on where these tackles are actually landing. Second round, I mean, take your pick, because I don't know enough about the tackles in the second round. I'm just saying that I do think that they would go tackle at this point. They could go for a bunch of different tackles just based off the opinion of which one they liked the most.
I think it's more whatever that team has as BPI for that position.
Yeah.
Or BPA, sorry.
What's that mean?
Best player available.
Yeah, that's not in my vocabulary because that's bullcrap, but
for the position?
Anyways, no, best player, no, I mean best player available, like, in general. That's stupid, but yeah, at the position of need, then sure. I mean, you're not going to pick a worse guy at the position unless it's Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
So the Eagles have kind of like struck out trying to draft receivers recently. So I figured, I'll give them like the worst highly rated receiver right here because I'm sure. So not Rondale Moore. He's not the worst. Elijah Moore is just trash. So we'll send Elijah Moore to Philadelphia and we'll go let him die with all the other receivers. This will be their attempt at helping Jalen Hurts. It will suck and it will be terrible, but this is my guess of how it goes because I don't like Elijah Moore at all. So if he goes to them, then that would make sense why he's ranked so highly because the Eagles are trying to pick him up high.
Yeah, Jalen. It would kill Jalen Hurts' chance of being a starting quarterback in the NFL if they got him.
It's just ridiculous. My favorite linebacker goes to Cincinnati now because Cincinnati's a linebacker needy team. Actually, they were one of the. I just didn't think they would go linebacker with somebody like Penei Sewell on the board, obviously. So now they finally get back around to having another pick, and Zaven Collins is once again like my favorite linebacker. Sorry, not my favorite because Owusu-Koramoah, but I mean he was a very good linebacker. Like I like him a lot more than other top guys at other positions, but obviously Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is on another level, so that's why you can't beat him. You like Zaven Collins, right?
Yeah, I like Zaven Collins.
Yeah. Then for the Panthers here, I don't really know the best. I don't know the best interior lineman. Kind of just got them bunched together. I felt like they could have went center, but they could have also went guard. Landon Dickerson is listed as a center, but I wanted to go interior offensive line for them.
He's played like every single position on the offensive line during his time in college, so
which makes it a better pick for them because, like I said, I mean, it wasn't actually no for tackles they were pretty They were pretty good on tackles, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because that's what I said earlier, too, is like other people are mocking them a tackle, but I gave them Jalen Waddle. Let me just look back and make sure I'm correct. Yeah, their tackles were actually some guys that I respected pretty well, but the interior offensive line is kind of the part of the offensive line that I thought needed maybe a little bit more of a boost, so we'll send him there. I don't know if they'd say this value is too high, though. They may just look at this and say that this is kind of a reach for a pick, and I'd understand that, but trying to fill the positions a need, like I said before.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got a guy that I'm not in love with anything about him besides his name, Jamin Davis to the Broncos. Think they, once again, kind of getting a little run on some linebackers here because we didn't have a ton of them go in the first round. These teams that actually do need some linebackers, though, that couldn't pick them before are actually going to grab some now in the second round.
Yeah, I think if they do get Mac Jones in the first round, linebacker, just defense in general in the second round would be their pick.
Well, not corner because they loaded up on that in free agency. And safety's
they got Ronald
right.
Darby. I called it. They got Ronald Darby. I called it.
Secondary in general is pretty good for them. Basically, at the linebacker position, it's just Alexander Johnson, and he's definitely not a household name, but he's a very good player. Elijah Molden. He was originally going to go to the Falcons, but then Asante Samuel dropped to him, so didn't. I think this guy is the perfect fit for Dan Campbell. Like a nice real physical slot corner seems like the perfect thing to get in here. And I mean, even now he's listed as a safety, and I mean, you want to talk about versatility. I mean, that would be great for the Lions because the Lions don't have a lot of talent just on their roster in general. So I mean, have a guy that can move around a bit, a guy that's really going to be an impact player in the secondary. Keep him on the field all the time because you can move him all over. This is that type of situation when we were talking about the corners that really, I mean, I probably at that point in time I was talking about the nickel corner becoming like the last piece of a puzzle for a team, but really in this spot I think it's I think it's kind of just like becoming the basis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of want to hear your opinion on this one because this one's like kind of I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of the opposite of what I said before. What or would you think maybe they would go a completely different way or what?
I think with how they're just the whole team, I think there's three teams mainly. The Jets, Jags, and Lions are like the three teams where they could pick any position and it would be better than what they have already. They're, like you pointed out, they're very thin at receiver. I could see them doubling up at receiver. I could also see them doubling up on defense too, depending on what they do. But Dan Campbell's just like a wild guy, so he'd probably get whoever he thinks is going to bite some ankles, and Elijah Molden is that guy.
Yeah, no, just a physical guy at the cornerback position because we're talking about a position that isn't necessarily always that physical. Sometimes it is, but this guy definitely is, and I think that would be a trait that would jump out to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, continuing. Another interior offensive line player here for the Giants. Looks like kind of a position of need for them, so I gave him Wyatt Davis from Ohio State. Once again, a guy I kind of like probably more than other people. I'm just, once again, throwing these interior offensive linemen in here, but just offensive line in general, once we've gotten to this second round, is kind of like a positional more than my knowledge of what player they may select.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't think you're going to disagree with that one too much. Then we go to San Francisco. We finally got our boy Rondale Moore off the board. If he goes to San Francisco, I'd give him more of a chance to succeed than I gave him credit for before. I'm not too excited for him as a player. I think most places he go, he's probably not going to turn into anything that's much special at all. San Francisco is one place that he may get schemed up into some really good situations with his speed that he could actually potentially turn into something a lot better than I was willing to say before.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
It's a very interesting receiver room they've got there, though. It's kind of hard to analyze how they may feel about everybody in it.
Mm-hmm.
Then this was another position that was kind of affected. Once again, I talked about Asante Samuel, Elijah Molden. The kind of secondary here. Secondary players were kind of starting to get shuffled all around. But then I think I said Molden's listed as a safety, but I mean we're going to another safety here. But once again, safety is the most random position ever. I tried to find a mix of a guy that I like, but also like the general population also think is pretty good. And I have Dallas going with Richie Grant here. So he wasn't like the highest safety on my board, not nearly at all, but I still liked when I watched him play, and apparently other people think pretty highly of him, so Dallas needs a safety, gave him to them.
Yeah, Dallas kind of just needs to draft any defensive players they can get their hands on.
It's so weird looking at the names though. It's that thing. It's the C teams. It's the Cowboys and it's the Colts. It's the Cowboys have all the names and can't do anything with it, and the Colts have no names and do everything with it. It's like what's going on? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So now, since the Jags, I think the Jags already had 3 picks? The Jags have another pick here at 45. Once again, we're kind of getting to the point where it's like this team that's not so talented, we're kind of filling in all the weakest spots, though. So if we're talking about just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, then we've got one position left that I think is really just like noticeably bad. And it's probably a reach here, but I'd say Pat Friermuth from Penn State's tight end. I think that's the last position they really need to give a shot, at least something. And then basically from here, at least you've gotten a guy at every position that's really weak for you. And then you can start really just going out looking for the best players in the rest of the rounds to try to figure out who could really improve your team the most.
Yeah, if they get him, then they just can, for the rest of the draft, say, all right, who do we like the most here? Okay, take him.
Yeah.
It would be a decent reach, but it's their biggest hole left. He could do it all. Yeah, it'd be a good pick.
Once again, we have the Dolphins, another team that has had a ton of picks now, especially because I gave them an extra pick with that Patriots trade. So they're just going to go interior offensive line here. Well, I won't drag this one out because I don't have a lot to say about it.
You got the guy that I told you about.
Yeah, that was another reason that I picked him, because you had good things to say about him, and Pro Football Focus liked him too. So then Chargers kind of need some defensive back help. I like Javon Holland for them because he's listed at corner, but I saw him at safety. I had him at safety for my safety rankings. So a little bit of versatility there. If we've got that, I mean, the Chargers would like it because they kind of need a little bit of help at the corner position or safety. And then when you go through them in camp, you can kind of say, okay, which position is he playing the best at? All right, we'll put him there. We're back to the Raiders. Oh, this is exciting. Because once again, it gets to their pick. I look for a position of need, and I say, well, that's a fun player. Just like, if I could say, well, that's a fun player, then that's a guy I want to send to him. And feels like a Raiders pick because it's just kind of, it just feels right, you know? So, I mean, maybe I was wrong with, now that I'm thinking about it again, maybe this guy should have went to Dan Campbell, but Afitu Melifonwu to Las Vegas here. They need some corner help, so yeah, just give him a big physical guy. Oh, gosh, it's like perfect. Give him number 21, but you know he's choosing a single digit because of those new fun rules.
Yeah.
Okay, second half of the second round is upon us, and let's keep it going. So, once again, another team that's just dying for a tight end is the Cardinals. I don't know why, but just with how this could fall is that the Jags reach, and then the Cardinals say, oh crap, well, Brevin Jordan's kind of the only guy we like left. we may get a lot of tight ends taken like higher than we think. I mean, but you never really know what's going to happen. It's probably more than likely that these tight ends won't go very high. But at the same time, I mean, the Cardinals just really, really lacking at the position. And he's a pretty athletic guy for what their offense is kind of trying to do with not really looking for too much of a blocker, but I like his athletic ability, so maybe they take a shot on him here.
Yeah, I think them missing out on Jonnu Smith in free agency, it's going, and with Friermuth going to the Jags, it's going to cause them to make a reach like this, and I think he'd be a good scheme fit. It wouldn't be a bad pick. It would just be a bad pick at the location.
Oh yeah,
of it.
no, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Probably a good spot to trade out of if they really want to trade back, grab a tight end.
Yes.
But like I said, I didn't want to get too in depth because we could go a lot of trades if I didn't do one besides that Patriots one in the top 10 that I felt like it kind of made sense. Then Dolphins need a safety. They're going to go Darius Washington because, once again, ranked highly, but we don't think a lot of him. He's even worse than Morig, but he's rated. He's in my opinion, he's rated like even more ridiculously high than Morig is. He's like way overrated, but yeah. What do you think?
It depends on the list you look at, because there are people that have the exact opposite view of you, and then people that completely agree with you of him being overrated, underrated, just right. Like I said before with Morik, the safety class is so weird. It's so weird.
I think it's a good safety class. I just think the top of it doesn't make any sense.
It's a great safety class. There are going to be guys that get drafted in the 7th round that are going to be immediate impact players. And it's just gonna blow my mind that there are guys like Morig that get drafted in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round.
Yeah, no. Could you imagine if we actually had like the draft was actually based off best player available? We would see like 8 safeties off the board before we saw the 2nd edge defender.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, that's what it feels like. Yeah. And then here's a guy I like. This guy's from Mizzou, right? Yeah. Nick Bolton. Washington needs a linebacker. I like him. He's undersized, but he absolutely dominated in the SEC. I mean, geez, if you're undersized, who cares? If you can dominate in the SEC, especially on one of the lesser SEC teams where you're probably the worst team, and you're still going out there making plays, being a great player. Yeah, Nick Bolton from Mizzou. I really like him.
Yeah. I remember when we were talking about him, you and I both called him thick. And then the other day I was watching some
We did? Wait.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we both called him like thick. He's a stout guy. He's a thick, stout guy. Or at least I did. Maybe I know, maybe you agreed with me. I don't know. I called him a thick, stout guy.
Okay.
And I was watching, I think it was a Pro Football Focus mock draft, and the guy called him Thick Bolton. And I love that.
Okay. Man, I don't know. I definitely haven't watched him since we watched him for that linebacker video, which has been a while now because those was one of the first positions we started with. But yeah, no, it's interesting. I don't really remember the thickness being too much of a. He must have been though, because he's not terribly tall and he had to have some weight on him to play linebacker, so that makes sense. Chicago's up next. They're finally going to grab a quarterback for themselves. They're going to get Kyle Trask here. I think he's probably at least to me, I don't know. Maybe somebody's selling themselves on Davis Mills, like you said earlier, but I'm not sold on Davis Mills at all. And I don't know if the Bears would get terribly involved. There's definitely elements of Kyle Trask's game though that you could make yourself convinced that he's pretty good. The Bears are desperate at the quarterback position, so let's give them somebody to try to work with here. I think it wouldn't be too much of a shocker if they went for a quarterback here.
Yeah, and like you said in our quarterback video or episode, he's the best red zone weapon you can have. So I wouldn't be surprised if Andy Dalton throws for like 3,000 yards on the season.
And
but
5
Kyle
touchdowns,
Trask,
just 5.
Yeah, 5 touchdowns, and Kyle Trask is going to have like 300 yards but 18 touchdowns.
Oh, and like 6 rushing touchdowns because he's got a huge frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up is Tennessee. I think I stopped with my receiver thing. I think this receiver pick finally kind of makes a little more sense because I think the Moores were more highly rated than some of the other guys I put ahead of them probably. But finally get back on maybe the right track here. Tennessee goes receiver because earlier they obviously grabbed Farley at this point because Farley was the one who dropped the lowest to those high corners. And they go Tylan Wallace because they kind of have a void to fill with where Corey Davis left. And honestly, even though they have the best receiver in the league right now, they don't have much of a number two. So they probably would like that.
I think Tylan Wallace would be a better complement to AJ Brown than what Corey Davis was.
Could be.
They're similar in both him and AJ Brown are similar in a sense, but he does. I don't want to say things better than AJ Brown because AJ Brown is the best receiver in the NFL. I just think he'd be a better complement than Corey Davis to him.
Okay. I mean, that's where I got him mocked.
Well, it depends on where Tennessee goes with their offense now that Arthur Smith isn't there. So
yeah. These last 11 picks, I kind of was just like, okay, I mean, what are the chances that I've gotten every pick right so far? Probably not terribly high. So I'll fill positional needs, but I'll grab guys I like from here on out, okay? So, to the Colts, they need a safety. We're not looking at that. From what I'm seeing now, it seems like actually everybody besides me has basically been turned away from him now. At least recently is what I've been seeing. His name has really fallen off. Seems like he's ranked near like at least the 5th round now, but I'll get my guy. Hamza Nasiruddin. Yeah, boy from FSU. It's the closest thing, from my perspective, to Cam Chancellor that we've seen in a while. I think the upside is insane, and I think it's totally worth the risk. But like I said, positional need.
You know what I feel about him.
You love him. I know.
Yeah.
Then we go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was a positional need, but like you said, big offensive line issues, basically all around. What I like the idea here, where most of the offensive line picks I went with before kind of just randomly like, okay, they need a lineman. I don't know which one they could go with. I like Alex Leatherwood to Pittsburgh because he's a tackle, but I mean, he looks like he's got the size to play guard. So, I mean, really, I would hope that you could get him going like really wherever you need. Plug him in, figure out where he fits, and could be a good pick just because he may not be good at one thing, but then you could find a different position that he'd actually be good at and still be able to play. Probably not going to be able to play center, but tackle or guard could be in his future.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Then, once again, getting more guys off the board that I like. Seattle needs an interior defensive lineman. So here, go Jay Tufele. Yeah, our guy. Liked him a decent amount, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he's finally going to come off the board. I will say that in these last 10 picks from here on out, I wasn't able to get one more team that I wanted to send a safety to. So we didn't see Talanoa
Hufanga?
Yeah, we didn't see him come off the board, sadly. So I'm very sorry about that. Then this next guy isn't really a guy I like, but other people like. So, I mean, Jabril Cox, I just think that he's got to probably come off the board by this time. Rams need a linebacker. So he really is not one of my picks as much as it's just I think it would be a logical pick here.
Yeah.
You like him at least more than I do, right?
Yes. I think the Rams would be a good spot for him. The Rams are going to have a very high-powered offense, and to keep up with that, you're going to have to pass the ball a lot. And you agreed with me when I said he's like the best in like coverage when it comes to like the linebackers. But that's the only thing he's really like good at.
Well, I agreed that he's a good coverage linebacker. I didn't agree that he's the best.
Not that he's the best. He's
because
good at
Owosu Koromoa is the best coverage.
Yes.
Which is weird to say, but he's the best man coverage linebacker, and Zaven Collins is the best zone one. But yeah, no, he's right behind both of them in terms of his coverage ability. But I mean, I'm not as excited about it.
He will only be a good pick if he goes to a team that has a very high-powered offense and is like that teams are going to have to pass to keep up with you.
He could be interesting to see in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's another team that I've got a little farther down the list. They've got a later pick. If he could sneak back that far, he could potentially get picked by them. Or maybe, I mean, realistically with this guy, we have seen this guy interpreted a little differently. Some people have him a bit higher. He could be the tail end first round closer too. Even though I have him 25 picks later than that right now, he could be that pick 32 for Tampa Bay if they really want to try to add a third guy in there with White and David to be another sort of solid coverage linebacker. They could. Yeah. Because at that point for me, we had Owosu Koromoa off the board, and then Zaven Collins wasn't, but just up to their interpretation. So then Kansas City, even though this one was mocked later before, but I kept it, just thinking that I don't think they're done building the offensive line. I know that they've got Orlando Brown and Mitchell Schwartz will be opposite now, but I feel like there's probably still a little fear from Patrick Mahomes. I mean, obviously the guards, and then Schwartz coming back and having Orlando Brown is going to be a lot better. But that really wasn't the issue before. The issue was that everybody got injured and there was nobody to back him up. I could still see him going tackle here, but I definitely could see them going another way too. They may say, okay, we patched that up, but I don't think it's a stretch to say that they may say, we want a little more depth there.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Then another guy I like, but a position in need. The Browns need a linebacker. I went with Dylan Moses here. Who did I give? Do you remember who I gave the Browns before?
Barmore.
Okay, yes. That was the only other pick they had, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, that's good. So he's kind of my fill-in because I thought that they were going to get Matt Milano, and then they didn't because we kept him, which was exciting. But they still have a void there at linebacker that they kind of need to fill that didn't get filled in free agency. So we'll go with Moses. But like I said, another guy that's probably not actually going to get picked this high, just a guy I like. Then here's another fun one. Okay, so what's going to be fun about the Saints offense this year? Just a question before we even get to the pick.
Jameis Winston at quarterback.
And who's going to be playing tight end?
Taysom Hill.
And who is the greatest foil to Taysom Hill?
Davis Mills.
Tommy Tremble.
Oh.
Yeah, you want to talk about two basically complete opposite tight ends if we're going to classify Taysom Hill as a tight end. We'll really have to see how that role gets expanded. Sean Payton is one of the most creative offensive coordinators we have. And he's not creative in the ways of sort of these more new innovative schemes. He's got his completely own things going. He's doing things that nobody else is doing. I mean, nobody else has a player on their team like Taysom Hill. And I think actually getting Tommy Tremble in New Orleans would be really exciting. Once again, I don't think that he'll go this high. It's a position of need for them, the tight end position, if you don't count Taysom Hill. And it's also that it would be really fun to see. So, like I said, these last 11 picks are a lot of interesting stuff.
I don't know if you'd want that to happen, though, because then Tommy Tremble's going to become George Kittle. He's going to become what I prophesized.
Listen, if I'm completely wrong on that and he goes to New Orleans and he is a treat to watch, I don't care. I'll be so happy to watch him. That would be so fun. That's why I mocked him here, because it would be absolutely awesome. Then we got the Bills again because apparently they swapped with us. How did we get the earlier second round pick and they got the earlier first round pick?
I think they alternate if you have the same record.
That's so lame. Oh, I don't. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. But why did they get the first round pick that was higher? Doesn't matter. I don't think we were going to take Kadarius Toney anyways, but maybe we would have, and then it would have been great. Interior defensive line is position in need. I like Marvin Wilson. Pretty sure he's the guy. He's the FSU guy, right? Yeah. He's the guy who blocked the punt He's a freaking D tackle that blocked a punt. Like, yeah, bring him to Buffalo. That would be awesome. Once again, don't think he's actually going to get picked this high, so probably not. But position in need. This guy may actually go this high. Thomas Graham Jr. They need DBs. I think I may have said that earlier with Kadarius Toney. So that I was thinking about that position too. But defensive back is their other kind of position of need, and that's what I went with here for them. Not too much more about that. You like Thomas Graham?
Yeah, I do. I liked what I saw.
I didn't like love him. I thought he was all right.
No, neither did I. I liked him.
There's other guys like rank lower than him that I liked more too. Here's another guy I liked. So finally getting back to the Chiefs, Joe Tryon was my number one edge player. I liked him a lot. I really can't even remember much about him though, just because it wasn't like it was terribly overwhelming. But I think once he gets selected, he'll be a very solid value, even though the edge position is not a very good position.
Yeah, when we did our edges, he wasn't on my list of guys, and then you had him at 1 for you, so I went back and watched him, and I think I went back into my list and put him at 3, just because it was a major oversight by the list that I was looking at to not even have him anywhere near like the top 10 guys.
I know. That's why it's tough sometimes. Yeah, and last guy, I do find a guy that's kind of fun. Not a guy that either of us really liked, just like, this is fun. We'll throw him in here. So I talked about the thing earlier with the 2 positions that I potentially saw the Buccaneers going with is like I mentioned backup interior defensive lineman and then backup quarterback. The other spot, like I said to you later on, that could be fun was that extra coverage linebacker guy, or at least extra same type of build linebacker, small, thin linebacker, not too big. Chaz Surratt from North Carolina. Not really much of talent, but I mean, fits the build, and fits the position. So,
well, why would they draft Kellen Mond then? If they're gonna get Chaz Surratt, they get 2 positions.
My gosh.
They get 2 positions.
Oh
with
my
them.
gosh, what am I thinking? Well, he's actually the 3rd string quarterback in this scenario. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I should have been thinking of that though. He may go in the 1st round because he could fill two of their backup needs. He could be a backup quarterback and a backup linebacker. That would be great. But basically, then oh shoot, I didn't think about this. Okay, well I can tell you in the bottom corner, just in case. So where do we have it? Washington. If you're forgetting any of these guys, Chicago went Elijah Vera Tucker, Kwity Paye to Indianapolis, Caleb Farley to I actually do have this one corrected, this list. Caleb Farley to Tennessee, Greg Newsome to New York, Najee Harris to Pittsburgh, Trevon Moehrig to Jacksonville, and Christian Barmore to Cleveland. And I think you can see the rest of the list. Yeah. So, I mean, any other thoughts? Any closing things?
From you? No. I just can't believe you predicted the 1st, 2nd round 100%. That's insane.
Yeah, I'm pretty good like that. I can guarantee that this is wrong because I know there's no way all these tight ends get picked this early. But it just these there's not enough tight ends, man. There's not enough tight ends. Even though Kyle Pitts is a receiver, it sure makes a heck of a lot of sense why he labels himself a tight end because, dude, teams need tight ends. There's just a lot of teams that have none, and just we can't do anything because there's not enough of supply.
Yeah.
Supply is so limited. So they won't go this high, but, I mean, geez, it's such a position in need.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite prediction?
I really liked Kellen Mond to the Buccaneers.
Okay.
I that's not something I even thought of. So, I really did enjoy that.
Is your mock draft complete at this point?
Yes, it is. I will be making no changes to it.
Good. I was going to say
unless a trade happens.
Yeah. If a trade happens, that's not your fault. But yeah.
I don't want you thinking that I stole any of your ideas. I'm not changing it.
Yeah. How similar is it? Like all 64 picks?
Yeah, all 64. I was surprised. I was containing my excitement the whole
I
time,
was
but
like, every pick, my jaw dropped a little more because I was like, it's the same. Nah, I can almost guarantee that your top 10 isn't even the same. I bet like there's at least 4 or 5 picks in your top 10 that are different.
oh, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, did you put any trades in yours?
No, I didn't. I'm not smart
Yeah,
enough to be able to maneuver that and
yeah,
manage it.
yeah. No, but like I said, it was just one. So yeah, no. I just
Hmm.
really, I just really, the Dolphins pick there. I just really, I don't like them staying in that spot. I don't think they should because I don't think they need a receiver, and they don't need a quarterback either. Like, get out of there. You're not because in my scenario at least, Pitts and Sewell are gone, and they don't need a tight end either. They're one of the few teams that's got Gesicki's like way underrated. Sewell's like the only thing that maybe they should consider there. But besides that, I would recommend like all the talent that's going to go off the board that high, they should be getting back out unless they want a QB. It really doesn't make sense why they bothered to trade back up into 6 unless they think they can go 12 to 6 back to something near 12 and actually come out positive, which they probably could. And that's what I suspect they're trying to do.
It just it was really weird because I thought this too when the trade first happened. They were in a good spot at 3, and then they traded it to 12, which is in an awkward position to have because usually like guys where like top talent is going to be gone by then. Like the consensus top 10 guys are usually gone by 12 because you have 2 picks to clean it up. And then they get back at 6 where it's going to be receivers and receivers.
Potentially Pitts and potentially
Yeah.
quarterbacks, and it's like none of these are
You don't need
needs.
any of those unless they really hate Tua.
Yeah, which I don't think they do.
It'd be hilarious
If
to
they
see
go
Mac Jones
if they
go
go
there.
quarterback, I'll be shocked.
It'd be
You know what's
hilarious.
funny though? I don't think I said this when we were on the Broncos though. Honestly, if there was one I'm trying to get with the mock draft, I'm trying to be correct. I really am trying to guess how it would actually play out. Minus those last 11 picks, basically. Because I'm just like, there's no way I got them all right up to this point, so it doesn't matter. Just positional needs at that point. But obviously, at the top there, I'm just like sitting there, and I'm like, I think the most likely landing spot for Mac Jones really is Denver. But honestly, if there's like one team that's quarterback needy that I wouldn't want my favorite quarterback, Mac Jones, to go to, it's Denver. I don't I don't just something seems messed up there that they can't get an offense going. Like they have so many like skill position. I'm just scared. Like they should have been able to get something going now. Like no matter what quarterback goes there, I'll be kind of nervous. I don't know. Maybe less so if like somehow they ended up with Trevor Lawrence. If the Broncos traded up to 1, maybe then I would be a little more confident. But man, no, I've still got nerves. No matter which quarterback goes there, I don't think it's a very conducive situation. On the other hand, I think the 49ers is by far like the best situation, no matter who goes there. It's just so funny because it's like these teams that need quarterbacks, and I'm like Broncos and then Niners are on such opposite ends of the spectrums. Like it doesn't even matter which quarterback they pick. It's just that I love the situation in San Francisco and hate the situation in Denver.
Yeah.
Not even the players either. I don't know why. Just nervous about whoever goes to Denver. I think a quarterback will go to Denver though.
Mm-hmm.
You all set?
Yeah, I think we can cut it here.